Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between WeekendFou versus ArgosZenex here on, was this, Abyssal Caverns, and oh goodness, and yes, my friends over at Sodus asking me if I want to play. Gonna go ahead and say no to that, as I am in fact casting. My fault for not putting up that little thing there. But then again, it's these very, very small things like this that make my cast more interesting, as it makes it feel a little bit more live for you. Anyways, ArgosZenex spawning as the blue Zerg on the bottom left-hand side of the map as the, at the 7 o'clock position. Meanwhile, WeekendFou spawning here as the red Protoss. So this is Protoss versus Zerg on Abyssal Caverns. Abyssal Caverns, one of the ladder maps, but not a very tournament style map. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these players play on this map. Now, this map is one of the few Blizzard maps where close by air spawns really make a really big difference here. Normally, the walking distance is still rather large, but any sort of drop play, warp prism play, or air harassment is very easy to execute. Your natural expansion almost becomes a little bit more well protected, as it is difficult to get back off on this side, as we now see a probe still scouting out from WeekendFou. ArgosZenex, a long time, I guess a long time fan favorite if you have been watching my channel. I haven't been getting I haven't been able to find very many of his games recently until now, so hopefully this game does not disappoint. As we have an Overlord parking itself back over here, perhaps it will check to see if a gas is going down. WeekendFou so far now getting that forge down, so it looks like he's going for a forge fast expansion, which looks rather unnatural or uneasy at this time. The forge is about to be completed. It looks like he may be going for a cannon, and WeekendFou looking to establish a pylon now on the low ground, should be able to get up a nexus. The problem is that he's going to come inside his opponent's base and see that he went for a spawning pool first. The drone is now running around the far side. The probe looking, sees that there is not gas, knows that most likely a hatchery is about to be placed down, and now sees that ArgosZenex is in fact placing down a hatchery. However, WeekendFou still has this one probe here. He could warp in a pylon and then try to do a bit of cannoning to put some harassment in, but now two Zerglings going to quickly come into position, take down this probe, and the probe scouting days will be over. The Overlord now doing a flyby, pretty much seeing everything he needs to see, knows that there is no gas whatsoever, most likely expects that there is going to be an expansion down over here, but unbeknownst to him, there is actually going to be two photon cannons at the front door. So two photon cannons at the front door, perhaps a gateway right here to make it even more difficult for any units to try to run by. Any Zerglings will have to try to run past these photon cannons here. Not going to be able to do very much. There it is. There's that gateway. And even a Roach with a range of 4 will not be able to shoot at the gateway at all. You can see that there is an Overlord off over here. Gonna park itself right by the nexus and try to pretty much see everything that's going on. We are now going into double gateways, but now take a look at this. Argos going into a triple expansion before the 5-minute mark. So this is going to turn into a really macro heavy game. Normally, I do not see Zerg expanding that quickly, but he knows that since this expansion location is rather far away from his opponent, even though it is also far away from him, he knows that there's not going to be that much pressure down. And this all stems from the fact that this is close by air spawns, something that you would not be able to do if your opponent was either in this direction or here. If you did, you could perhaps try to take down these golden rocks here, or the rocks over here by these gold mineral patches, if the opponent did spawn here or here. Now, we'll see what Argos tries to go for. Argos has yet to set up any extractors. Meanwhile, WeekendFou has gotten up double assimilators already inside his main base, but he has not gotten any gas at his natural expansion yet either. Cybernetics core now coming online, and what we will see what WeekendFou is trying to do with all this gas that he's going to be sitting on. It's going to take quite some time for that Cybernetics core to finish completing, and as soon as that is done, he should probably be sitting somewhere in the realm of 300 to 350 gas. He'll be able to dump it straight into double sentries most likely, and that warp gate tech as well, as early sentry is very important, and then that warp gate tech a Protoss never leaves home without it, as we now see a spine crawler here. We are going to see a couple drones now down over here. This expansion is up and running, and now we are going to see some Zealots making a move out. The Zealots are looking to perhaps do a bit of scouting what's going to happen here, and the Zealots may actually find this expansion, but the expansion is going to be guarded by a spine crawler and a queen. So this spine crawler and a queen will be able to handle this. The Zerglings being able to do a quick run by there, and now the metabolic boost has been completed. That their melee damage it's actually gonna be much easier to get into melee range, as the evolution chamber coming online just at the right amount of time there, preventing the Zealots from trying to run in. There are 4 Zerglings and 1 spine crawler. That should be more than enough. Meanwhile, back at home, you can see that there are a lot of sentries. We are going into a robotics facility as well, but no Stargate. I would have naturally assumed that Stargate would have been the natural progression by WeekendFou, as roaches would have been a very, very large possibility trying to knock on this front door. Void Ray is very effective against roaches, especially without their glio reconstitution. The Void Ray can chase down and hunt down a roach, move and attack, and with the same movement speed, deal a lot of damage. Gateways, pylons, you can see the mass production coming in from WeekendFou. Taking a look at the harvester count, 50 drones versus 46 probes, and very, very nice there, as we are now getting into that metabolic boost as well. You can see the hatchery about to upgrade to a layer up to tier 3 Argos. Very, very confident now in his drone ability, sitting on 58 drones, a nice drone advantage at this point. There is 1 observer out at the front door. We are going into a Spire and a Baneling's Nest. So this is going to turn into a very, very heavy macro game. And I'm very interested to see how these players are going to try to execute or work out any of their strategies. It looks like an observer is about to make its way across the map. Observers moving relatively slowly. Yeah, observers moving relatively slowly, but still able to gain a lot of information and a lot of sight. You can see that a Baneling's Nest also being built on the front door. That's going to be very difficult to try to push through here, as both players now going to be macroing up a large army. Protoss sitting with a slight food advantage. 80 over 92 compared to 76 over 110. Those Zerglings are just dancing around that front door. The Protoss army is a lot stronger right now and will be able to handle all of these Zerglings. With that, I believe we're going to see Argos now train up a round of units. You can see based off of his three hatcheries or 3 bases that he's able to train up 27 units at a time. He's sitting on 1,400 resources, or 2,300 in total. And normally you would say that is a bad thing from a professional StarCraft player, but because he's running and Zerg is able to train up so many units at the same time, it's actually going to very, very much benefit him, as this 3rd base is now being used as almost primarily for gas. The Spire now getting the armor upgrade, something that we don't normally see. Zerglings are trying to poke apart this over here, as WeekendFou now getting a gateway, 2 gateways, and also getting some photon cannons as well. Those Zerglings may be able to perhaps try to do a run by in just a moment, but with those photon cannons, it's going to be very difficult. Mutal is now putting in harassment on the back door. It looks like, yes, all of those probes may get taken down. The probes are desperately trying to fly away. Now it looks like some damage will be dealt. We have already finished Blink, so Blink going to be very important, as probes now transferring over here, and this is going to be a problem. It needs to take down this pylon or something, as it's going to run into a group of Zealots and sentries now. The Mutal is trying to back off, as the Zerglings are finishing off a couple of these sentries over here. I think this 1 pylon would have been very, very easy to take down, but then again, those force fields could have come into play, and I take that back, as that Nexus had a larger footprint than I thought, only revealing a very limited surface area on that pylon. That pylon was very, very well protected by gateways, photon cannons, and a Nexus. Mutalist now outside the front door. Argos now with the food advantage, with a 30 food advantage in fact, as he is running off of a large amount of bases, 3 bases compared to his opponent's 2.5 right now. Not very many probes there. You can see that this one observer's days are pretty much numbered, parking right next to an overseer. Not quite sure if what's going to happen here, as yes, I believe the observer will just easily get taken down out of the sky. We are going to have still more Mutalists flying around trying to do more harassment. Stalkers with 1-0 upgrades, as we are about to finish the Carapace upgrades, and now we are going into ventral sacs and pathogen glands. Another expansion now being established at the 4 o'clock location, as that forge may get sniped down. This is going to be a problem. The Stalker is able to blink in, though, moving very quickly, able to get a lot of damage as the Mutalisks are now trying to back off somewhere else. It looks like a round of Zealots are coming in over here. The Mutalisks perhaps going to try to get some harassment, and it looks like they may be successful, as there's only one High Templar. The Templar does not have enough for a Psystorm just quite yet. The Templar trying to run away. Will he be able to get that very expensive Templar unit? Yes, the Templar does get taken down. Another Templar getting taken down. So a very nice trade there, as the Mutalisks kind of baited into a group of Stalkers, allowing the Photon Cannon to get even more hits. Still, Zerglings sitting outside just within striking distance. We'll see what's going to happen, as we are now up to 150 on food. Argos desperately needs to get a lot more Overlords. He is training up 3 at a time now. He is now running off of 3 hatcheries, almost 4, as the Zerglings look to take apart these destructible rocks. We are not at tier 3 just quite yet, still sitting at tier 2, a macro hatch now coming into play, as well as the Mutalisks were coming back in for more harassment, but 2-3 Photon Cannons with Stalkers and Blink able to push that back. We're going to see probes continue to wander around still, trying to mine, trying to get back into this game. We are now seeing that 67 probes versus 72. Argos getting very quickly into that 200 food count our game very quickly. We're going to see also Neuroparasite come in, 181 food already, as those Mutalisks being forced to pull back, perhaps taking down these destructible rocks as well. And opening up these destructible rocks will make the map feel much, much smaller, as the Stalkers quickly able to blink in and destroy and get a couple key shots there once more. You can see that ArgosZenex's army is still slightly larger with 1,500 more total resources, and a Psystorm coming in. Stalkers now able to blink back up onto the high ground. Those Mutalisks are backing off once again, as we are now seeing 12 Mutalisks, 8 Infestors, and 11 Roaches. The standing army, even though it is very, very large in terms of total resources, is mainly consisting of a lot of Mutalisks right now, a lot of Mutalisks and a lot of Infestors. So the army that ArgosZenex has right now is very effective at taking down another army, but not very, very effective at taking down, say, buildings, or actually being destructive in that sense. We can see another hatchery being built off over here. Argos, the Zerg player, just expanding across the map. His income absolutely horrific at almost 3,000 resources a minute, as the Mutalisks are still just flying around and taking a lot more damage than they should. Tunneling Claws also being researched, but I don't believe that will be very effective at all, as there are already observers across the map in very specific locations. Also a lot of Photon Cannons, so those Tunneling Claws may simply be for the enhanced regeneration, as the Mutalisks are now coming in. In comes a Psystorm. Infestor is getting off a couple key fungal growths, and we'll see whether or not this is going to really work out. Psystorm now coming in. Are we going to get more fungal growths is another question there. Any more feedback? Those Infestors are rather slow. Stalkers are going to be in a problem there, as the Mutalisks are now trying to push in. This looks very bad for Argos, as Argos is engaging in a pretty uphill battle right now. You can see that Argos has lost a lot of his army, and WeekendFou all of a sudden macroing up. There are also a lot of Infestors coming in from behind. Are we going to get some feedbacks? Yes, feedback onto ArgosZenex's units, as those Infestors are pretty much in trouble. An Archon now being merged. It looks like another Archon going to be merged, and WeekendFou going to try to come in with the push and perhaps deal a devastating blow, as no, it is not going to happen, as Argos now macroing up into 27 Roaches, a very, very large number of Roaches. The Roaches are upgraded 1-1, so they will be able to deal a fair amount of damage. Roaches now simply pushing in here, gonna try to snipe down this Nexus. The Roaches, a mass number of Roaches, just able to come in here and destroy this Nexus in just, 3 rounds of attack. Stalkers are now pushing in. The Roaches do need to be careful, taking down all of those Photon Cannons first. No, the Photon Cannon's not going to be taken down, as Argos trying to run away with these Roaches. Roaches moving relatively slowly, finally back on creep and able to run away and fight another day. Overlords are off over here once again. It looks like we are getting up these bases, and it is going to be a 4-base Protoss compared to, what is this, a 6-base Zerg. but the main bases have already been mined out, so it's only a 3 base versus a 5 base, which is probably not in favor of WeekendFou. WeekendFou needs to deal a lot of damage with this attack, perhaps and deal a devastating blow and make it so that but Argos now coming in with a massive number of banelings and massive feedback of infestors. In come the banelings. The banelings are going to be trying to roll into here and simply just taking down multiple units at splash damage. Normally not very effective against banelings, as the banelings are just simply running in. The roaches are now trying to counterattack. Stalkers are being very smart, blinking back and forth. And what is in production? 46 Zerglings, 15 roaches, and Argos, now out of resources, needs to draw a line in the sand. Otherwise, WeekendFou may be able to deal enough damage. Army compositions, you can see slightly larger for WeekendFou, and he also has a lot more food cap to work with. Roaches rallied and just destroyed into the wrong rally location here. You can see a couple infestors, only 2 left. Roaches are going to be trying to push out. Once again, will they be able to do anything at all, as this massive number of stalkers, roaches, and Zerglings are trying to engage this Archon? Gonna perhaps absorb a little bit too much damage, as the roaches are only upgraded 1-1, stalkers are upgraded 2-1, both sides dealing devastating damage to each other. Baneling trying to find its target, able to get a little bit of splash, but the stalkers will be able to blink and once again get a nice round of devastating blows. Those roaches need to burrow. There's a fungal growth. Perhaps, the fungal growth, not enough to shut it down. There you go, finally taking down that one observer there. Now, stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between WeekendFou and ArgosZenex. Sorry, something just came up, so I'm going to have to break this replay into 2 parts. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.